Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another amazing guest this month on my LinkedIn Live, also on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are watching and from. Thank you so much for being here. As you're watching, please say hello. Let us know where you're watching or listening from, whether you're watching live or catching it on the replay. I have an amazing guest today, Sara Connell, it's Connell, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, shit, I should have made sure. Who I met through Selena Sue. We met in New York a couple months ago, and she is all about thought leadership and helping amazing voices bring their voice to market through content, through books, and I'm going to let her talk about it. So I thought that was such a perfect complementary person to what Josh and I do in Standout Authority. And so thank you so much for being here. I'd love to start this conversation with getting to know you a little bit, like who were you in the 20s? How'd you get to where you are today as this, established, five-time author, seven-figure plus business owner? Like, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. And so great to see everybody. And, really where it all started, right? We all have our origin story, and I probe with our clients, like I'm sure you do, to create a great brand. It includes like, what's that story and where did it all start? And I definitely was a kid that, really, I wanted to be a writer. That was just something that felt very exciting to me. But I'd watched a lot of movies and read a lot of books in which the way that you knew you were going to be a writer is that a teacher would take you aside and tell you were special and start giving you advanced books. That's what happened in all the movies and all the books about kids who become writers. So when that never happened for me, I had no idea at the time, but I decided, I guess I'm not allowed. Like I don't know if anyone listening has done that, where you gave someone else the power to decide if you were worthy of your dream and your calling. And that's what I did. And so I went and read other people's books as an English major. And then I studied marketing and I got a job in advertising. And there were some great things about that and some really horrible things, which was that it was the height of the Me Too era, especially in that advertising industry. And I found myself, single, felt trapped in this job where it was really toxic. It was really traumatizing and abusive. And I thought I couldn't leave because I, was supporting myself and didn't know how else to earn a living and buy food and rent and that sort of thing. And so I started to spiral. It really started to spiral into a mental health crisis, eating disorder, physical health began to deteriorate. And I found a book one day randomly in the Boston airport. It was not a book by Brene Brown or Michelle Obama. It was a book by a woman named Margaret Bullitt Jonas called Holy Hunger that no one's ever heard of. And I just randomly picked it up and read the whole book in one night, flying back from Boston to Chicago, where I was living, and, up all night reading. And just that one woman being courageous enough to share her story was different than mine. She had different traumas, she had different challenges, but she shared how she basically got well from an eating disorder and then reclaimed her life. And at the end of that book, I said, that's it. Even if I live on the street, I am out. I'm not going to this job anymore. And I'm going to find a way to pay this gift forward. I'm going to write books, and hopefully they'll be in the airport on someone's darkest day when they need it. And that's really, it didn't happen overnight, but I went on that journey to heal myself, to contribute something, to give something back. And when my first book, which I was very honored and blessed to be able to have it I got on Oprah and featured in the New York Times, and some really exciting things happened. And that's when I trained as a coach. I was a writer. I had these two worlds. And I said, no, this is what I'm going to do, because I knew there were other people who had a methodology, a mission. They had a framework. They have a way of seeing the world or a story that could really transform people's lives. And I wanted to make sure that I devoted mine to making sure they got to do that. And that's what I've done ever since. I mean, it's just been you and I, Rachel, I love, because we care so much about really brilliant, amazing people getting seen and known as thought leaders in their industry. And you need a brand. And then I call them unique thought leader assets. So you're helping, the brand piece. And then what reinforces that brand, in my opinion, is a book, is, whether you're speaking in keynotes or doing TED Talks, you're writing and speaking. Those are the power, thought leader assets that reinforce your brand and help build the brand. And so that's why I was so excited to meet you. And I know we just got it. We immediately, I was like, all right, who else is here? I'm hanging with Rachel, right? This is so great, because it is, if we don't create the assets and have a brand, there is a version of us that dies with our music still in us, meaning just a few people that know us get the benefit. But likely, if you're sitting here and you're on LinkedIn and you're listening and watching this, you know that there's more people you're meant to impact.
Mm-hmm. So talk about your process a bit, because you're right. A lot of people don't really get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's that imposter syndrome where they stay stuck in the job because they don't want to take the leap like you did. So how the kind of people you've worked with, or even your own journey, how do you sort of bring out that methodology and that thought leadership?
I love this because it is so overwhelming to think about creating a brand, to write a book, to do a TED Talk. I mean, it's like, who has the time? No one. So the answer is no one. We're never going to feel ready. We don't have the time. So we'll take those off the table.
Yeah.
And what's at stake, right, is our legacy, right? Our impact on the world, and a lot of times our revenue, because I've built a multi-7-figure a year business through writing and speaking. I mean, that's what I, teach people to do. And so it is so powerful and can be so worth it. So you started with the perfect thing, because until we deal with our mindset, right? Thought leadership, in my opinion, starts with leading our own thoughts. And if our thoughts are, I'm not worthy, who cares? I'm not a celebrity, I don't have 1 million followers on Instagram, we walk ourselves back from the vision, right? We just abandon it because we think, please. And so the first step, really, we're a brain science based, coaching organization, and we weave that into everything. It's really starting to instill the identity, inviting you to step into that identity of thought leader, of best-selling author, of speaker, and whatever words, maybe it's activist, maybe it's, everyone will have their word, but it's really doing that identity work, because identity drives behavior. So if we think, I'm not worthy, no one cares, imposter syndrome, it's really hard to sit down and write after you have 8 million other important, urgent freaking fires to need to put out. It just is. So we start with a brain science-based approach, working on the subconscious and conscious levels, so that really helping someone to wire their brain for that sense of ownership of your value, and also for success in thought leadership. And then the fun part starts, because then it's like, oh, what do I want to make, from that? And so I reverse engineered 100 New York Times bestselling books, because I was procrastinating from doing my own writing. That's the truth. The good thing that came out of that bout of ridiculous procrastination was that I wanted to find out what the common denominators were of these books that have, like, Napoleon Hill, or, all the way, Tony Robbins, what are the books, Brene Brown, like, what are they all doing that makes a book have that kind of, forest fires, ripple effect, like everyone's talking about it. And there really are very specific, there's 3 specific things. I'm happy to share them here, or, like, let, your audience know about them. But the idea is that we want to take away the blank page. And so whether someone's writing a talk, a book, creating content for YouTube, the idea would be, like, how do we take away this idea of just that horrible blinking screen of, like, what am I supposed to say? And really look at, and you get just the quick overview of, like, in 30 seconds, is that all those New York Times bestsellers, and this is true for the top videos on YouTube and the, top TED Talks, they have some element of a story, right? You asked me right here, Rachel, right? Because we got to trust somebody. We have to like them. We got to trust them to take the rest of the journey, right? So we have some element of our story that also includes our credentials, right? Like, why is someone gonna, like, if I say, oh, I'll teach you to write a book, and I've never written a book, that's very different than, okay, I've helped over 1,000 people write a book. I have 5 New York, a combination of different bestseller lists, but I have 5 best-selling books. We've got to give people our story and our stats in a way, right?
Yeah.
And then the second S of 3, it's SSS. The second thing they all did is they talked about the situation with stakes. So what does that mean? It's like, okay, I have my personal story of a book saving my life, but then I zoom out to the bigger situation, which is that 200 million people in America say they want to write a book, and very few of them will ever do it for all the reasons you just brought up: imposter syndrome, no time, overwhelming, I don't think I'm a writer, on and on. And so that's the situation, and then the stakes we talked about. Like, what if we feel called to be a thought leader and we don't share our work? Well, then nobody gets the win. We don't win, they don't win.
Mhm.
Finally, the rest of our video, talk, book is the solution. So
Mm.
the story, the situation, the solution. And I know it sounds simplistic, but I tell you, every one of these books did it. Every one of the documentaries does it. They do some version. It could be in a different order. But when we do that, we are guaranteed to create value. That's a bestseller, is just enough people, or a viral TED Talk is just that enough people watch it or read it. Right.
Right.
So I love this. Like, we want to take away the fear of the blank page. Everyone can think of their origin story because you've lived it. We
Mhm.
can ask ChatGPT in 2 seconds what the situation, stats, stakes, like what's the deal in the world, get a statistic. We had a client writing a book about, she left the fitness industry and was really helping people reclaim healthy body image. And, she found a statistic of a very upsetting study that 94% of women in America say they hated their bodies.
Mhm.
So it's like, that's horrible. That's not a good number. We don't want to live like this. And so, just having, we can find this now. You don't have to hire a research assistant anymore, right? It's like AI, and then your solution. All of you watching this, your mastery, your method, your way. Rachel, you're going to be on our podcast soon too, which is so fun. It's like, how you and Josh, like, take people, how your process, that you help them get known in their branding and optimize their brand. So we can all do this. It's not so scary as like, I had to write a 200-page book about what.
Mhm. Mhm. That's so easy. Yeah, it's like, seems so easy, and then what is the hardest part, Sarah, I have to imagine, is doing it for yourself. Because it's like, and this, we run up when going through people's story, and we're going through these questions, but thinking about that, well, how do we position you on LinkedIn? How do we create content? You have to use the same sort of arc and
Yes.
thought process.
Yes.
People take for granted what their powers are. They don't understand their story.
Completely.
It's just, you need people like yourself to kind of pull it out and get those stories. And I think that that's what's made, to your point, people like Brene Brown, or people are obsessed with the let them theory. And wow, has that really hit the boomer generation, particularly?
Right.
Something, resonating to the 40 plus. And it's not, and I love Gabby Bernstein, and she's
Yes.
sort of like, to me, just simplified spirituality. Nothing is actually that original.
I love that you brought up Gabby Bernstein, because I call it gremlins, right? What are those inner critic ideas that will stop us from being a thought leader, having a brand? And one of the big ones you hear is, oh, there's already books on my topic. So I just want to give context here. This is what I think is so flipping cool. So if we rewind from Gabby Bernstein, a few decades before, a book comes out called The Course in Miracles, right? And whether you've heard of it or not, it has sold millions of copies. It's a very dense spiritual text, that, day by day, 365 days of your spiritual practice, right? So this book is written, and lots of people like it and starts a movement, but lots of people don't know about it or don't like it, and it is what it is. Then along comes Marianne Williamson. So Marianne Williamson reads A Course in Miracles. She blows her mind, changes her life, and she writes a book about the book, A Course in Miracles. She writes about her journey of doing A Course in Miracles. This could not be a less original idea. There's already a book that she writes a book about her time with that book. And then and both of these books are New York Times bestsellers for many, crazy, made Marianne Williamson a household name. And then you couldn't think you could pull that off again. And yet Gabby Bernstein comes along a few years later and writes May Cause Miracles. About what? Her experience with the book, A Course in Miracles. So now we have 3 New York Times bestseller, virally, stratospherically successful books, launched these people into the absolute forefront of thought leadership, made their careers, writing about a book that already existed. And so I just love that example. And guess which one I like? I like Gabby's the best.
Yeah.
Of all of them, by far, by hands down, no question, 10x multiple. I want Gabby's all day long. She's the one I read of all those, right? So it's not derivative. It's not that every idea, I don't really enjoy doing the Course in Miracles. That doesn't really call to me. But I
Yeah.
really like Gabby Bernstein's books. And so that's an example of like, yes, lots of things have been done, but your unique take is going to be the thing that could launch a whole new movement. I mean, Gabby Bernstein has millions of people have read her books, millions. And she is just talking about Kundalini yoga and Course in Miracles. There's nothing she's talking, law of attraction, Abraham Hicks. There is nothing she's talking about that we haven't heard or could hear elsewhere. And yet, all day long, people are here for it. And
Yeah.
I find it, and I'm very grateful that she did talk about her version because I like her version a lot.
Right. And she's reached people that wouldn't have heard it otherwise because of the way who she is, how
And
she
how she presents it. You know, I don't want to read a dense text that's this long for 300. Like, but if someone's like, hey, this is what happened in yoga today. I love it. It's great. And like you said, people would never have gotten the miracle of that work if she and Marianne Williams, there were millions of people who loved her book.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're really speaking to this personal brand idea and the unique value proposition that we each have. Once you can kind of unfold that,
Yeah,
you can create all sorts of things. I mean, tell me, so you help people with TEDx,
Mhm.
you help them with YouTube channels, you help them get books. I mean, and I have to ask this question. We're living in a time of AI. You could
Yeah.
get a book, AI can write a book for us. I could get a book done in a day.
Let's have the conversation. We got to have it. I know, right?
They could write me a TEDx speech, like all of these things. And
Sure.
so I feel like, unfortunately, now a lot of this stuff has become a commodity, or it's empowered people to think that they're way better
Right.
than they are. And now people are going to feel even less differentiated. So then there's more space for the real unique people like you and me. But the rest of everybody now just thinks that they could do all this.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad we're going here. We have to go here, right? Because this is the moment that we're in. So a couple things. Just for everyone's almost like public service announcement about this in the book world. If you want to, of course, self-publish a book, pop it up on Amazon or sell it on your website, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But any book that gets published, meaning it's a real book that's in the Library of Congress, that's published through, can go in bookstores. There is software screening, cannot be written by AI. Those books are not allowed to be on the bestseller list. They're not, it's just so everyone knows. It does not mean I teach all of our clients how to, with integrity and safely, use AI in the book writing process for research, for organization, for help with structuring, for writing, it's absolutely accelerated by leaps and bounds how quickly we can write books because of the research help, the organizational help, all kinds of things. But depending on, I have no judgment. If someone's like, I want to just have AI write me a book, and
Yeah.
absolutely more power to you. It's just that won't be like, I call it a book, like a book that's like, okay, this is a book that's sold in bookstores and can be on bestseller lists. And that's the people I coach want. The other thing is, we'll have no emotional attachment to a book that the AI wrote, right? Because it just doesn't. Now, yes, you could feed it some stories and, there's all kinds of things. But I actually like this because if anyone saw the MIT study recently, 3 groups, super quick. They put a group of people writing essays into one room and said, you just have to write an essay. Here's the topic. That's it. Another group had access to Google. So it's like, if you need to research or ask Google a question, you can use Google and craft your essay. And the third group could use AI if they wanted to and do anything they want with AI. So the first group does their thing. The second group crafts their essay. The third group all chose to use AI, not write a word. They just sort of gave AI the prompt, write an essay of 700 words on this. And what was so interesting is, first of all, they put EEG sensors on everyone's brain to just see like what happens in our brain. And no surprise that when the AI group had nothing, their brain was lifeless, right? Because it didn't do anything, right? So there's that whole thing about like, what do we want to do to where to use it and where do we not want to use it or lose it in terms of critical thinking, creative expression, that kind of thing. And the group that did the AI, they were all basically the same. Like the AI can only pull from what's been created, even with a good prompt. So I'm pro AI. I really do love so much of what it does. I love it for writing email, idea generation. But in terms of like book and speech writing, I think to be used with caution. For the standpoint of if we start to relegate all our creative and critical thinking, we are going to atrophy our own skills around creativity, innovation, thinking. Those are use it or lose it muscles, just like our body. If the AI could go to the gym for you, it doesn't mean your body's going to be healthy, right? So it's sort of like that. But also thought leadership, right? You're helping people be thought leaders. We're helping people be thought leaders. Like this is about the real deal. Like we got to bring, so I think the marriage, I call it DI, like the divine intelligence, CI, creative intelligence, AI. And that is the trifecta of the time that we're in, I think, using it wisely, using it in ways that can expedite, make our life easier, but making sure that we bring something to the world that is unique, again, in our singular way of viewing the world. It's not to be a unique topic. So I think that's really, something to think. And to your point, Rachel, there'll be the percentage of people that are willing to be real thought leaders right now. And then there'll be people that just think, it's just, believe me, it is easier. I wrote all weekend because I have a book deadline for the 7th book, and I really would have liked to be at the pool. Okay. Like I just say it, I would have, but I'm on it. I have a deliverable and I am going to write every word of that book. So it's just a choice. There's no morality, judgment, good. It's just for everyone, to kind of think about. And it's exciting because when we free up more of our time with AI in the ways that it can really enrich our lives, then we've got more of that white space for those big ideas to come in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you made so many good points. What's really standing out for me though is this, creative intelligence and atrophy. And there's already the new millennial and below, that our brains have already been changing dramatically with digital and mobile devices and everything. And so I guess the question begs, what does consciousness mean?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we remain conscious in this reality, not, in a digital world? Are we going to continue to want books in 10 years and sit down and read them? You and me could say that, but Jaden, who's 16, he likes being on his, Oculus and in his worlds. So it's interesting. It's definitely gonna change.
Well, a prediction I have back, I've got a 14-year-old. You're talking about a 16-year. We've got those kids are similar ages, right? I do think that the world, and it's already started, but I think we'll see more and more of completely immersive worlds of books. So what I mean by that is where you will experience the book in the Oculus, or whatever the equivalent's going to be at that. So you will go into a world of a book, and now a lot of people do audiobooks, for example, kind of similarly. Weirdly, print still is booming, like people buying physical books and read, but audiobooks of course are just preferred by so many of us. I love both. I'm a physical reader and a listener. But I think the opportunity for all of us that want to stay with the wave, of where the world is going and impact people of younger generations especially, is meeting people where they are, which is going to be in some of those virtual worlds. However, I still think there's been so many moments in history, like books are dead or this is dead, but it'll just evolve. And I think that you'll be in the world of the book, where even now with the new book that's coming out next year, mine, we're going to have actually the author avatar in the portal. So when, I always give a lot of resources with my books because I want them to be transformational versus informational. I'm sure, that's how every one of you listening likes to do it too. And so, if I'm speaking to a particular visualization, a technique, I'll create a workbook and I'll create a video of that. That's all free. But, basically that's been like what we used to be doing the last few years. Well, that's just going to merge now into a fully interactive experience with a the author coach of the book, being able to interact with you on that platform. And then eventually again, and I know this isn't like not being done yet. There are books that are created into that virtual reality world. I wasn't allowed to play video games as a child, so it's not my jam. That's why, I laugh with my son's like, I mean, to him, that would be,
Yeah.
you can't imagine, because that's where they have their friend time, So, but I think again, us making, to your point, Rachel, is just so crucial. What do we value? Do we value relationship? Do we value our humanity? Do we value and also and finding ways to connect with things that do evolve, like VR and artificial. We can't ignore it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But finding a way to still bring a literary experience, for example, or a brand, it'll be a little bit of an evolving format, but I don't think it's going to go away.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. So yeah, so many books. You did 7? I thought it was 5. 7? Okay.
Yeah, the 7th is my manuscript's due November 1st, and I'm sweating it, to be very honest. It's just a lot.
Are you allowed to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I mean,
like, what's the?
I'm in it right now. Well, so, and a little bit of it, it does include what I just talked about, that creative intelligence meets artificial intelligence is part of it. So it's called The Download. And so again, it's out fall 26. But the purpose really is train your brain, unlock your genius, create miracles. So we were talking about miracles earlier. Love it. Love miracles. So it's a neuroscience-based book, but very much about creativity and how do we get that, we call it, downloads, right? We're kind of playing on this time that we're in. How do we download the next business idea, the next book idea, the next, even a solution for our family or a health condition? How are we downloading those from, whether you want to call it source, consciousness, the field, whatever fits with our worldview, because there are ways to train our brain to be able to not have that be most people have those moments, right? Like you get an intuitive hit, you get a sign, like those things happen to almost all. I hope everyone listening has had that happen at least at some point. But what this is really working on, it's almost like atomic habits style, where there's a methodology. There is actually a way and a system to have that be much more of a consistent, reliable, the quality of those downloads, the frequency of those big ideas, and how to bring that in the age of CI and AI, the creative intelligence. Make sure we don't lose the creative intelligence and don't go there first and then bring the AI in to serve. And so it's exactly really what we're starting to get into here. And it's what I'm obsessed about. And I spent all of the weekend studying gamma brain waves, because there's a new brain state that's been identified, hyper gamma. And, if you're a brain science nerd, you'll think, oh, we used to think the human mind couldn't go beyond a certain hertz. And now that's been absolutely smashed out of the waters, but by people who spend a significant amount of time meditating or walking in nature or having white space. You think about Nikola Tesla, Einstein. This is not just about writers or creative people. This is innovators. These are the people, true thought leaders. We've got to keep the channel open and not, again, just go to what's the easy, fast thing. So that's really what I'm very excited about it, because that's all I'm doing right now.
I love the topic. I mean, it's sort of like the antithesis of what people are talking about. Like there's like 2 waves of conversation. Right. And so how do we bridge those? Sounds amazing. Very excited to read that when it's out. As we close up our conversation today, I had a couple hot questions for you. Hot takes.
Let's do it.
Okay. TEDx or best-selling book? What would you choose first?
Yeah. So they're both great because they both do similar things, as in they're credibility boosters. You get instant authority, all the things. Here's what I'd say. A lot of times what I hear from the people we work with is that doing the book gets them into such a new level of mastery. Even people that have been working 20, 30 years in a field, the way that put those ideas together, and it's going to be a lot faster to pull a nugget and do TEDx. So I say that if you were equally excited about both. I would recommend the book first because you'll be in such a level of empowerment around your message, and then pitching to TEDx will become a faster, easier process. However, if you just are like, I want to do it, I want to stand in that red circle, I want to be there, go for it, because they're both going to, you have a great TEDx talk, it'll help, promote the book and vice versa. So it's a chicken and egg a little bit.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you have a power outfit for when you go on stage?
Oh my gosh. I do love playing with outfits. So it is very, very fun to me. Right now, I'm really into, I had the gift of going to France like twice this year, which is just for a whole bunch of reasons. And was once with clients and once for a family event. And so I'm kind of into this whole like Parisian suits, like the no shirt under a power suit, monochromatic, I like color. So that's sort of my right now power outfit would be, I just got this kind of like coral, it's like almost a red coral pantsuit, very Parisian vibe. So that's right now my jam, but I love dresses sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the suit is in right now. That whole vibe for women. I love that.
Yeah.
Any personal mantras you say before hitting the stage or going live?
Yeah. So the heartfelt one is, let me be like a vessel for what one person here needs to hear. Like that idea that I'm here to speak to that one person that needs to hear this message. That gets me at least out of my head. I'm there to be of service. And then, it's not so much on stage, but like in life, kind of in general, about being courageous on that next thought leader leap or whatever it is that we're going for, because this work requires so much courage to be visible, to develop a brand, the amount of imposter syndrome we have to walk through and old stuff and those old messages. So I just love, you can and you will.
Mm.
I can and I will, because that's a declaration.
Mm.
And so I really love that when oh, you can't write a book or you can't build a brand or you can't, it's like, I can and I will.
Mm. That's like the perfect way to end this interview. I can and I will. Well, we know LinkedIn has been a bit of a struggle with getting you back activated, but it's going to happen. We're going to make it happen.
It is. It is.
For people to get in touch with you, follow you, where should they go?
Yes, definitely DM me. Anybody that has questions about this or like, what did you mean about that framework? Happy always. Love, love, love to hear what anyone's working on. On Instagram, it's at SaraConnell. I spell it because I have no H on Sarah. So at Sara Connell. And then YouTube is at Thought Leader Media. And we have so many cool, we've got brain activators, we've got book frameworks, we've got all kinds of free stuff there. So love to see anyone over on YouTube.
Yes. Okay. Amazing. Amazing. And we'll make sure that that's in our email and all the things. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Sara. If you enjoyed this, please share it. Please share it with somebody else. Let me know what you think, and really, really appreciate you spending your time with us. Until next month, I will see you soon. Have a